Good evening and welcome to the Coon Rapids City Council meeting for Wednesday, November 3rd, 2021. If you could please rise and join us for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Griskoviak.
Here.
Councilmember Ray Rauer.
Here.
Councilmember Geisler.
Here.
Councilmember Johnson.
Here.
Councilmember Carlson.
Here.
Mayor Cook.
Here. Thank you. First item on our agenda this evening is to consider an appointment for the Ward 3 Council. And I thought it was a little presumptive that we already have a name on the dais. You know, just saying.
We took the risk since we had to tape it because the new one is not in.
All right. So I'll just read the discussion here. At the October 5th meeting, the City Council declared a vacancy for the Ward 3 council member position and authorized staff to begin an appointment process. At the close of the application process on October 18th, 2021, there were 8 applicants for the position. City Council reviewed the applications and directed staff to schedule interviews with 5 of the applicants. The City Council interviewed 5 candidates for the position at its October 26th, 2021 work session. And based on discussions at the work session, staff has prepared Resolution 21-111, a resolution appointing Pablo Hernandez Jr. to the vacant Ward 3 council member seat. And I will say this was a very tough situation. We had some very good applicants that interviewed very strongly, and we had some very good conversations. And Pablo rose to the top. So I think we probably need to take some action up here.
Yep.
And then Joan can take some action out there,
That's
right?
correct, Mr. Mayor.
All
Your
right.
Honor.
Councilmember Johnson?
Okay. Mr. Mayor,
Oh, Councilmember Geisler.
we were
Oh, you're doing it together?
together. No,
I'll let her go.
go.
I'll second it.
I'm not sure how she'll record this.
I don't know. So I make a motion to adopt Resolution 21-111, a resolution appointing Pablo Hernandez Jr. to the vacant Ward 3 council member seat.
Second.
Motion by Geisler, second by Johnson. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Geisler?
I would just reiterate and thank everyone who put in an application. It was very nice to see that level of interest in our city. And for the 5 people that we did interview, everybody was a good candidate. And so it did make it a tough decision because there were a lot of really good candidates, and would like to just thank everyone for participating in the process.
And I would encourage any of the rest of them and any of you to go through the city's commission page at some point. And if there's some commission that seems like a good fit for you, we can always use your service here at the city. So, any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Crickets? Okay, I think that sounds like we're a go. Ms. Lenmeyer? Yes, I have one right here. It is on.
All right. Raise your right hand. I, Pablo Hernandez Jr.,
I, Pablo Hernandez Jr.,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota
and the Constitution of the State of Minnesota
and discharge faithfully
and discharge faithfully
the duties of the office of City Council Member
the office duties of City Council Member
for the City of Coon Rapids
for the City of Coon Rapids
and the County of Anoka
and the County of Anoka
and the State of Minnesota
and the State of Minnesota
to the best of my judgment and ability.
to the best of my judgment and ability.
Sign your oath.
Thank you. Still may. So my favorite welcome to the council that I got from Councilmember Sanders was when I got up here and sat in my chair, he lowered it to about this close to the floor. But we didn't do that for you.
No hazing.
Welcome to the dais, Pablo.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hernandez. So do I have to go Councilmember Hernandez Jr. then, or just Councilmember Hernandez?
If you don't mind, Councilmember Hernandez Jr.
All right,
Thank you.
very good. It's important for people to know how to reach out to you when they're complaining about things.
I'm ready.
All right, well, we're through those things, and we are up to, I see.
All good.
All good, okay.
Thank you.
Got a little out of order here. So do you want to be able to call him into attendance now, or what?
Councilmember Hernandez Jr.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay,
All present.
all right, thank you. All right, next on our agenda is to adopt this evening's agenda.
I'll move adoption of the agenda.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Carlson to adopt the agenda. Any corrections or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And the agenda is adopted. We don't have any proclamations or presentations, and we're up to approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Carlson?
motion to approve the minutes?
Second.
Motion by Carlson, second by Griscoviac. Any discussion or corrections? I was just looking here. Okay, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. And this will be your first abstention, Councilmember Hernandez Jr., because you weren't here.
I abstain.
Now we're up to our consent agenda, and we have 4 through 11. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 items on our consent agenda this evening. Starting with item 4, which is to adopt Resolution 21-105, approving the amended Wellhead Protection Implementation Joint Powers Agreement. So in 2000, all right, let's just start with that. At its regular meeting held January 16, 2018, Council approved a joint powers agreement joining a municipal wellhead protection group to jointly implement plans of member cities administered by Anoka County Environmental Services. For background, Coon Rapids was a signatory member of the first 1997 Joint Powers Agreement to cooperate in preparing original wellhead plans, the planning JPA. Coon Rapids signed the 1997 JPA, then later chose to have a consultant prepare its plan separate from the group. The planning JPA was terminated when the other cities completed their plans. So it feels like we went too far back in history here. In 2010, however, the group decided to establish a new Wellhead Joint Powers Agreement to implement the common elements of the city plans. And Anoka County included the cities in the original planning JPA in the notice of the new 2010 JPA, but Coon Rapids did not execute the agreement. As staff began participating in the group more regularly, staff recommended memorializing Coon Rapids membership by adoption of a resolution at the January 16th, 2018 council meeting. Per the attached memo, Anoka County has amended and restated the existing joint powers agreement to allow additional cities to join the group without the need for an addendum or further action from member cities, and to correct statutory and rule references within the JPA. So we're just looking to adopt resolution number 21-105, approving the amended and restated Wellhead Protection Implementation Joint Powers Agreement with Anoka County, Andover, Anoka, Blaine, Centerville, Circle Pines, Columbus, East Bethel, Fridley, Lexington, Lino Lakes, Ramsey, Spring Lake Park, and St. Francis. Next item on our consent agenda is item 5, and that's to approve the Recycling Center staffing agreement with Atlas Staffing. Coon Rapids Recycling Center contracts staffing for its daily needs at the facility. An annual contract with Atlas Staffing Incorporated was approved by the City Council October 20th, 2020. Atlas has proven to be a great fit at the recycling center, and staff would like to renew the contract from November 1st, 2021 through November 1st, 2022. Aside from the contract term, the only revision includes a 2% cost of living adjustment. So we're looking to approve the contract with Atlas Staffing Incorporated for contracted staffing at the recycling center. Next item on our consent agenda is item 6, and that is to adopt Resolution 21-106, calling for a public hearing to vacate Watermain easement, Paladin Career and Technical High School, 10220 Goldenrod Street. At the September 16th, 2021 Planning Commission meeting, PCTHS Building Company received a conditional site plan approval for the remodel of the existing building at 102220 Goldenrod Street and a 13,600 square foot addition in an area that was previously a parking lot. On October 5th, 2021, Council approved a right of entry agreement to operate and verify the water main and fire hydrants on the property for public safety purposes. Rather than adjust the water main easement location, the city requested that the building company vacate the entire existing easement. A vacation petition may be initiated by the city council upon adoption of a resolution by a 4/5 majority. Resolution 21-106 calls for a public hearing on December 7th, 2021 for council to consider this vacation. So we're looking to adopt Resolution 21-106, which calls for a public hearing on December 7th, 2021 for vacation on a water main easement for 10220 Goldenrod Street Northwest. The next item on our consent agenda, which is item 7 on this evening's agenda, is to approve a memorandum of understanding with Anoka Hennepin District 11 for police department support. The police department has operated the school liaison program since 1974, and since 1989, the police department has instructed the nationally recognized DARE program in all elementary schools in Coon Rapids. Anoka Hennepin District 11 supports the presence of highly trained police staff in schools and requests officers perform 3 functions for the district: law enforcement, fostering a positive school climate, and as law-related educator. The police department strongly believes in supporting our schools and are committed to contributing to a culture of safety. The total dollar amount of the contract is $299,633.42, and that amount represents a 2% increase over the previous year. So we're looking to approve the 2021-2022 Memorandum of Understanding for School Liaison and Prevention Program Officer Services with Anoka Hennepin District School District Number 11. The next item on our consent agenda is item 8, which is to approve final payment to Northdale Construction for Project 20-1 Street Reconstruction. The actual project costs were less than the final contract amount due to quantity adjustments from the original bid. So we're looking to approve final payment to Northdale Construction in the amount of $73,651.65 for Project 20-1 Street Reconstruction. The next item on our consent agenda, which is item 9, is to adopt Resolution 21-110, establishing polling locations for 2022. State election law requires that the City Council designate polling places every year by December 31st, even if the polling places have not changed from the year before. As a result, the polling places designated by year-end will be effective for the following calendar year elections. In the event of an emergency, or if a polling place becomes unavailable, there are provisions within the law to allow the City Council to designate an alternative polling location. The city's precinct map and the polling locations listed in Resolution 21-110 are attached for review if you ever want to look at our packet. But we're looking to adopt Resolution 21-110, a resolution establishing polling locations for 2022. The next item on our consent agenda, which is item 10, is to approve the joint powers agreement with Anoka County for the election expenses. The Anoka County Board of Commissioners, at the recommendation of their elections manager, approved an updated joint powers agreement to allocate costs for election expenses, and this updated agreement makes the following changes to the current agreement. several just little clarifications. Removes Category D, which is a hospital district from the agreement, updates language for calculating population percentages, and allocates a portion of absentee ballot postage costs to cities or schools. With the increased interest in absentee voting by mail during the 2020 election, Anoka County experienced a large increase in postage costs. Under this new proposal, a portion of those postage costs would be charged back to the municipalities based on the formula used to calculate the cost for each city's ballot printing. For Coon Rapids, that would amount to a postage cost of approximately $1,500. And we're looking to approve the joint powers agreement with Anoka County for election expenses. And the next item, which is the last item on our consent agenda, which is item 11. This is exciting stuff, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
All right. Okay. This is to approve the agreement of terms for portable chiller equipment at the Coon Rapids Ice Center. On September 1st, 2021, Rink Tech International provided portable chilling equipment on the premises of the Coon Rapids Ice Center to allow for ice refrigeration at the facility. The portable chilling equipment is needed due to a mechanical malfunction of the ice cooling system at the rink. The portable system will be on the premises of the ice center until the new permanent ice cooling system can be installed, which is expected to be sometime in early 2022. An exact timeline is yet to be determined. And the agreement that's attached lays out the general terms of rental use, maintenance, and monthly rental fee for the ice chilling equipment. So with this, we're looking to approve the agreement for equipment and limited maintenance with Ring Tech International for portable ice chilling equipment at the Coon Rapids Ice Center.
Your Honor,
Councilmember Rayrower,
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second?
motion by Rayrower, second by Carlson. Is there any discussion or questions from this? Comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Griscoviac?
I really just, on number 6, I had a question on, but I also wanted to make a point of that staffing agreement with Atlas Staffing at the recycling center. I just have to make a comment that I use that recycling center all the time, and that Atlas Staffing does a terrific job. That place is always just neat and tidy. Those people are always really friendly, and I think that's important because I know a lot of people outside of Coon Rapids utilize that, so I'm glad we're doing that with Atlas Staffing. My comment, though, on agenda item number 6 and vacating that easement for Paladin Center, our career center, a question for Mr. Himmer. Does the right of entry agreement that we entered into in early October, does that replace this easement? Because there's still water mains and hydrants that we'll have to maintain, so I just wanted some clarity on that before I voted.
Councilmember Griscoviac, Council, there are going to remain services. It's basically a private system as it is. There are 2 fire hydrants on the site that's fire protection for the site only. It's not part of the public system. I think in years past, we would just take drainage and utility easement over everything. So the right of entry we have now just allows us to go in and make sure they're functional, but we're not responsible for any repairs or maintenance. So this does the same thing, only I think a little bit better.
Sure, okay, thank you. That's it.
All right, thank you. Any other discussion? Or? Hearing none, we have a motion and a second on the consent agenda. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 12 is to hold a currency exchange license public hearing and consider license renewal for Your Exchange. Ms. Lensmeyer, do you want me to read your discussion point here, or do you want to hit this, or?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, the highlights are that we need to do this by law every year, so if you would just hold the public hearing and let anyone speak that wishes to, that would be great.
Any issues or anything we should know about?
There have been none.
Okay, perfect. Council, does anybody have any questions before we open the public hearing on this? All right then. In the case of Your Exchange, we are opening the public hearing for the currency exchange license. Is anybody here to address council for the public hearing on the license renewal for Your Exchange? Anybody here for the public hearing on the license renewal for Your Exchange? Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing and limit.
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Geisler.
I'll make a motion that we concur with the Minnesota Department of Commerce renewal of the 2022 currency exchange license for York Exchange at 3070 Coon Rapids Boulevard.
Second.
Motion by Geisler, second by Griscoviac. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. We are on to item 13, which is to consider Resolution 21-40, Sub 9, awarding a contract for the Coon Rapids Ice Center mechanicals. Somebody want to cover this, or you want me to?
Sure.
You give a lot of information here, but
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. Before you, we have the awarding a contract for the mechanical systems. We did get bids on Friday, and within that, we worked with Facilities Management Company Apex as a consultant. We do need to replace the cooling tower, install chemical feed system for our water treatment, also install water softening equipment. We also want to do some preventative maintenance on the compressors and install some emergency shutoff controls and web-based refrigeration system. We did have a base bid and then 4 alternate bids, and within that, we did decide that we are going to reject the bids for, it's the alternate 1. It related to renovating the refrigeration room, basically doing some painting, and there's some corrosive pipes, doing some LED lighting and things like that. It's really not necessary right now at this point. We felt the bids came in rather high. We are hoping that that can be lower and do that work later on. So we do recommend going ahead with the base bid and then alternate 2, 3, and 4. Those are all very tied together. They're very integral. And with that, the low bid would be total mechanical services in the amount of $476,164. The company has done work like this before, so this was unexpected costs, and it would be paid for through the Facilities Construction Fund, which you have another item before you tonight on the agenda, and we hope to do this work as soon as possible.
thank you. Anyone have any questions of Ms. Rain?
All right, I'll make a motion.
Thank you, Councilmember Johnson.
It's always hard, and the public, I hope, is sensitive to this too, because all of us on the city council are sensitive to this. When you get an unexpected failure of some pretty significant equipment that you need to replace, because it really affects a major part of the city. So I'm going to move adoption of resolution number 21-40, parens 9, close parens, awarding a contract to Total Mechanical Services, Inc. in the amount of $476,164, which includes the base bid and alternatives 2, 3, and 4 for the Coon Rapids Ice Center Mechanicals project, so that we can continue to use the ice center this winter.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Geisler. Discussion?
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Griscoviac?
a couple of things worth noting on this one would be that the equipment failed early in all of our estimates. We actually did determine, we kind of know why it failed early, and we're taking some steps with this to make sure that our next investment, we get the full life out of it. So I was glad to see that's part of our bid process. The other part of it is the rental on that chilling equipment is expensive in itself. So I agree that the sooner that we can get this, we're going to save that cost, and we'll keep that ice center running for our residents.
All right. Any other discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. And as referenced, item 14 is to consider Resolution 21-113, amending the Facility Construction Fund budget for costs to replace the ice center cooling mechanical system. So somehow we have to pay for that stuff we just bought.
Your Honor, I'll move resolution 21-113, amending the 2021 Facilities Construction Fund budget for the expenditures related to the replacement of the Coon Rapids Ice Center cooling mechanical system.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Geisler. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 15 is to consider Resolution 21-107, awarding the sale of $9,995,000 in general obligation bonds, Series 2021A. Francine, we're going all the way back to the Finance Director in the back row.
Mr. Mayor, Council, the sale did take place this morning. There were 6 bids, and the low bid proposal was accepted at 1.21% interest cost. Mr. Nick Onhot of Ehlers is here via Zoom video tonight to go over today's sale and also the city's annual Moody's credit opinion. Is Nick there?
Hello, Council, Mayor, and Council. This is Nick Anhut from Ehlers. Sorry to be joining you remotely, but I appreciate the opportunity and wanted to highlight the results of the sale that Ms. Hanson mentioned just a minute ago. The proposed bond issue from the city was just under $10 million, designed to fund both street reconstruction and utility improvements throughout the community that are currently underway. About $6 million of the amount is for street reconstruction that is payable from a combination of assessments against the benefiting property owners as well as dedicated tax levy. These bonds are structured over a 10-year repayment. The remaining $4 million, or just above $4 million, is to fund water system improvements associated with those reconstruction projects, as well as the Foley Overpass project with Anoka County. This portion of the debt is also structured over a 10-year level repayment. As was mentioned, the city's credit rating with Moody's Investor Service was under surveillance with these bonds, and I am happy to report to you that that rating was affirmed by Moody's. So you are still at a AA1 credit rating, which is the second highest possible rating among all municipalities across the country. The median rating for a city across the United States is roughly a AA3, so 2 notches below where Coon Rapids stands. So this is a very good rating and certainly translates directly to having great access to capital and low interest rates on your bonds. The report does indicate that there has been improvements within the local tax base, as well as a stable economy. You've weathered the pandemic and associated recession well. It also cites that you have extremely healthy operating reserve levels, and the only, I guess, negative or somewhat risk that was flagged within the report is they do note that there is a moderate enterprise risk stemming from the Gulf Fund. However, in our discussions, they did note some of the steps that have been taken recently have improved that outlook, and they look forward to seeing those results pan out in the future. So definitely not something that caused any kind of blemish on your overall rating. We did receive 6 bids this morning on the bonds, with the low bid coming from Baird, representing a syndicate of over 21 other investment banks, and the low bid came in at 1.21%. So that is the interest cost associated with the full 10-year repayment of those bonds. The high bid came in at 139. If you compare the difference between the high and the low, the resulting interest differential is about $100,000. With the result of the sale, we'll be able to reduce the principal amount of the bonds to $9,075,000 overall. This will deliver the targeted proceeds necessary to reimburse the city for costs that have been incurred on those projects and will continue to accrue as they are constructed. With these bonds in place, the city's total debt profile, you'll have just over $66 million in outstanding debt. About 89% of this debt is scheduled to be retired within the next 10 years, which means that you do have quite a bit of flexibility as you pay down that debt to incur more if necessary for future capital improvements and other facility needs. This is a very strong position, and you are replacing about as much debt as you are incurring as we do move forward within your reconstruction projects. So with that said, we certainly do think these are very good results. The bids that were received are commensurate with the marketplace and the low rate environment that we are within. Your bond attorneys at Kennedy and Graven have prepared an updated bond resolution that would award the sale of bonds to Baird based on this bid. It would set the payment schedule for dedicated levy and debt service payments to the Water Utility Fund over the next 10 years. And it would schedule a closing on these bonds for November 23rd, which is when the funds would be wired into the city's accounts for payment on your project expenses. It is a very good result, and we're very happy with this, and we certainly recommend that the council take this action and consider awarding the bid to Baird. Thank you.
See, Nick? Is he still here? Oh, good. So Nick, I was going to say the ding we got because of the golf operation. I assume all municipalities that have a golf course were at some risk of that after the COVID period. Is that kind of what impacted that, or was it something else specific to our golf operation?
This is not anything that's new within your credit profile, so I wouldn't say that they're flagging anything that hasn't been already identified. It really is just perhaps the lone blemish that I could find in looking through the report. And as I noted, we did have discussions with the analyst at Moody's. We did discuss some of the steps that have been taken to improve operations at the course, and obviously the ability to come out of the pandemic and open up operations for some of the additional, restaurant and catering services will definitely help. So I don't see this as anything that I think the council should be concerned about. Just really an indication that they are paying attention. They do look at the full scope of your financial picture. And again, they called it a moderate risk. They don't anticipate that you're going to have to dig into your general funds in order to sustain the golf operation.
Okay, thank you. I didn't recall hearing that before. That's why I was just curious. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions of Nick?
No, Your Honor.
Councilmember Johnson?
So I appreciate Eller's report and the positive remarks that they made, and any time a city has an enterprise, there's a risk. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate the analysis and Eller's helping us work through with the analysts that it's a moderate risk, and I really also appreciate that we retain that second highest rating, which almost nobody has the highest rating. I just note that. So with that, I'm going to move authorization of resolution 21-107, awarding the sale of $9,995,000 of general obligation improvement and utility bonds, series 2021A, fixing their form and specifications, directing their execution and delivery, and providing for their payment. Do we need to make any alteration because of the rate that we got to that amount, or is it fairly stated in the agenda? Okay, we'll go with that.
Okay, motion by Johnson, second by Ray Rauer. And so that $9,075,000?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's
the, go ahead and explain it, Matt.
Is Nick still there?
Yes, the so $9,075,000 will be the final borrowing amount that's necessary based on the bid that was provided. Baird did include a reoffering premium within their bid. This is something that we've dealt with consistently over the past several years, related to how low rates are, and they are willing to pay higher than face value in order to purchase these bonds and reoffer them on the marketplace. So if we kept the size of the bonds at $9.9 million, that would result in excess borrowing that we don't need for these projects. And so we're recommending that we right-size the amount of bonds to only deliver the amount that's necessary and minimize the amount that you would have to repay. in the future. So the revised amount is $9,075,000.
Okay, so should that be the motion then too? I got it, one head nod.
I'm going to take a look at the resolution here. As Kennedy and Graven drafted the resolution.
Mayor, council, there's a new resolution that we got this afternoon that Ms. Lenzmeyer attached
With the
for the
new
mayor
amount.
to sign, with the correct amount on it now.
Mr. Mayor,
Oh,
in your
Okay.
folder.
And so I'll just amend my motion to reflect the amount stated by Ellers, so that we can proceed with the recommended amount then.
okay. So we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I would
Councilmember
just like
Geisler?
to commend our finance team, because I know that they work hard and putting these things together and working with Ellers, our partner, and doing all the work to maintain that high credit rating, so I appreciate that.
It's a good rate.
Yep, oh my gosh.
And
Yes.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Griscoviac?
I've said this before, I think we've all said this, but, you know, these are the kinds of things that us as a community, these are good investments. You know, keeping up on our infrastructure and things like that, that's where the majority of this is going. And frankly, our community is recognized as a leader in doing this, so it's money well spent for our residents.
All right, any further discussion? We have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 16 is to consider planning case 21-47, consider a preliminary plat 11420 Round Lake Boulevard, Derris, Amsler. Mr. Harlicker, are you presenting on this one?
All right, Mayor and council members, this is a request for preliminary plat approval for property located at 11420 Round Lake Boulevard. Excuse me. It's the area outlined right in here. It's got frontage on Round Lake Boulevard as well as frontage on the Mississippi River. There is currently a single-family residence on the property, and that will remain and become part of lot number 2. This is the proposed preliminary plat with lot 1 here, lot 2 in the middle with the existing residence, and lot 3 kind of the dogleg site with frontage on the Mississippi River. All the lots comply with the minimum lot size requirements. The 1.97 acre parcel is being split up into a 23,000 a 23,000 square foot site, for lot 1, 24,700 for lot 2, and 38,000 for lot 3. Lots 1 and 2 do meet the dimensional requirements, of the LDR1 zoning district. However, lot 3, they are requesting a variance to the lot width requirement for lot 3. Lot width is measured in kind of a unique way. It's measured 30 feet back from the front property line. And as you can see from the plat here, the further back you get, the narrower the lot gets. So it's measured off of Round Lake Boulevard. So if it was measured at the property line, it's 114 feet. If you measure at the front setback line, it's 102 feet. And our code requires that lot width be measured 30 feet back from the front setback line. So that takes it back to 70 feet. At that point, it's 92 feet wide. Embedded in the subdivision regulations is a process for council to grant variances to the dimensional requirements. And as part of this preliminary plat, council is being asked to grant a variance to the lot width requirement to allow the 92-foot wide lot width on lot number 3. There are findings for that granting that are included in the staff report. The Planning Commission meeting held on the 21st. There was a neighbor that asked about the design of the homes. The applicant replied that the site on the river would probably be a rambler, and the structure on lot 1 would be consistent with other homes in the neighborhood. Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the preliminary plat with the 3 conditions: that all engineering comments be addressed, park dedication in the amount of $6,000, which is $2,000 per lot, be paid prior to releasing the plat for recording, and a street tree is required for each lot to be planted at the time of building permit. With that, I'll answer any questions.
Your Honor.
Councilmember Johnson?
Can you tell us what is the width of the lot in the riverfront section? It was difficult for me to tell what it was, but is it 100 feet or less?
It's probably about 100 feet based on the typical lot frontage on the river for most lots.
And our minimum lot width is 100 feet for a traditional lot, is that right?
For the LDR1
For the
district,
LDR1
yes.
district? I probably will, but,
Mr.
Go
Mayor,
ahead.
Councilmember Geisler?
Looking at this, where you look at how do I, split out one larger parcel into, the different spaces, you've got to consider, and I think they've done a generally good job, because you've got your existing lot lines to the neighboring properties that you have to consider. You can't move those. You've got the existing house that unless you want to tear that house down or, make that happen, you've got kind of constraints of where you would go. And so if you look at, we're looking at 8 feet for a variance on that lot width. And typically people are going to be looking at that lot width from the street or the river. And both of those are going to be at where it's 100 feet. And so it's just that technicality of where we put that measurement. And so it's really, there's just that small window where it doesn't, because if you measured back like 75% into the lot, it would be really large, right? Because it would be the long side. So I don't have any problem with that variance and understanding that it's the nature and the layout of that existing lot and the structures that are there to be able to make it the best use to be able to create the 3 different lots.
Your Honor.
Councilmember Johnson?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with the variance either, especially considering that in this situation, the actual house is going to be on the back side of the lot. So what you're dealing with here is basically kind of driveway and front yard kind of stuff. But it's this interesting, I don't know if you want to call it a flag lot or L-shaped lot or whatever. My biggest concern was that we're not creating a situation where we're putting a house into a lot on the river where there's like literally no side yard. And so that was my biggest concern. But if it's frankly in the ballpark of 100 feet, which it kind of appears like it is from the plat map, but I couldn't really peg a number on it, I'm certainly open to the variance.
And Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Geisler?
One other, so when the site plans come in, or for the houses, those don't necessarily come to council. Those would go through the planning department. And all relative, the setbacks and things like that that are required for any new house would be followed. And so it's not like we're changing the setbacks of any new buildings on these lots to the neighbors. All it is that one technicality of where we measure the initial frontage of the lot. There.
All right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it has to be an orderly development. It has to look right when it gets done, and you're not going to throw the houses out of the
Right.
natural setback lines. Anybody else have any questions,
Yeah.
Mr. Harlicker, on
I have
this?
one more. So
Mr.
when
Geisler?
I look at the recommendation, it doesn't make any mention in our recommendation about the variance, and I would have assumed that our motion needs to include that. Is that correct?
Yeah, typically, Councilmember Geisler, by approving this, you are,
By default,
you are
including
approving the
with it.
variance.
Okay.
We could add the findings to your, should you decide to approve the preliminary plat,
I just
you could
wanted to
add
make
the
sure
findings.
We're covered from our legal perspective.
Yeah, Mayor Council, there is a note in, not under the 1, 2, 3 conditions, but there is a note in that first line under recommendation about, and the variance to the minimum lot width requirement. So I think if we cover that as a part of the motion, we'll be
Oh,
covered.
okay, I see it.
Yep.
Okay. So then, Mr. Mayor, I would
Councilmember
move
Geisler?
forward with a motion. Move planning case 21-47, recommend approval of the preliminary plat for Dory Addition and the variance to the minimum lot width requirement for Lot 3, with the 3 stated conditions of 1, all engineering comments be addressed. 2, park dedication in the amount of $6,000 be paid prior to releasing the plat for recording. And 3, 1 street tree is required for each lot to be planted at the time of building permit.
Second.
Motion by Geisler, second by Rayrauer. Is there any further discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries. Mr. Harlicker, while you're there, planning case 21-44, consider a preliminary plat for 12691 Hanson Boulevard.
Yes, Mayor and council members, this is a preliminary plat request to subdivide 4.8 acres into 2 lots. Well, actually, it's more than 2 lots, but 1 lot will be for the existing church, which is located here. And the other half of the lot will be subdivided for a future townhome development. This lot will actually be an open space, which is Lot 2, and then the remaining lots will be for the townhome development. Back in October at the Planning Commission meeting, the Planning Commission did approve the corresponding townhome development for this plat. So what the council is considering tonight is the plat for the church property, and then subdividing the other half for the townhome development. The lots do meet the dimensional requirements of the zoning code for both institutional use in the single-family zoning district here, and the moderate density residential for the townhome development. The church will be located on 1.83 acres, and the townhome development is on 1.86 acres. So the lot is almost split in two between the 2 uses. At the Planning Commission meeting held on October 21st, there was a resident that spoke regarding concerns with drainage. And on the preliminary plat, they do have the concept plan, site plan for the townhomes. And what the drainage will do is water will be directed to this drainage pond here, and then directed off-site via stormwater out along 127th Avenue. So the water will be funneled away from the, townhome development. Commission voted unanimously to recommend approval of the preliminary plat, and there is no park dedication for this. It was paid as a condition of site plan approval when the church was built. So with that, Planning Commission recommended approval of the preliminary plat with a condition that all engineering comments be addressed and all comments from the Anoka County Highway Department be addressed.
Mr. Harlicker, how does that work? It seems like there was just 1 lot, it would have just been a 1 park dedication fee at that time, and now there's 2 lots or more lots, but it's still no additional park dedication fee?
Correct. We discussed that internally, and that was what we came up with. They paid park dedication for the whole parcel at that time.
All right.
Your Honor? Oh, go ahead.
Councilmember,
I just had a question. Are there any agreements or easements that need to happen with the townhouse development where the drainage is actually on to the other lot? If the because the stormwater, as I understand it, is on, the church lot, right?
Mostly.
Mostly on the church lot. And so that, I'm assuming, would be part of engineering comments, but do we need to make sure that there's some agreement if those two parcels have to agree on that, because technically you can't drain to a neighbor property, right? But here, there's got to be some sort of an agreement that you're draining to a neighbor's property?
That's correct, Councilmember. This drainage basin is designed to accommodate runoff from both the church property and the townhome development, so it'll be a shared facility.
Okay, and do we need to have that documented anywhere?
Will it be written into the plat documents?
Mayor, I would assume that is what would happen.
Yep.
I don't know if Jim Member has any additional information on that, but that would be my understanding.
Council, I would also note that because this will be a private pond, there'll be a required maintenance agreement with the Coon Creek Watershed District as well, with the shared ownership.
Okay, and so can we I'm just going to assume that that's going to be part of our engineering comments, and part of any motion that they have to address those comments would be taken care of. Thank you.
Councilmember Carlson?
Mr. Harlicker, I know that one of the concerns that the residents had was the loss of privacy between the townhomes and their existing townhomes. And I'm looking at the plat and I'm seeing like a line of what looks like trees. Was there any talk about keeping those mature pine trees at the back of that lot?
Yeah, Councilmember, these trees, it doesn't show on here, but the trees will be preserved, and they've also included additional trees to fill in gaps in that tree line. That was part of the site plan approval that was addressed, so yes.
That's good.
They're staying.
Your Honor?
Councilmember Johnson?
Just one last question. This is an unusual kind of development in one sense, and that is, and I just want to be clear on this, we're actually taking a piece of property that is all tax exempt right now, right? And creating a taxable portion of this property because of this development. Is that right?
It sounds logical.
Well,
I'm not a tax expert.
Assuming the church doesn't end up
refer that to the gentleman up who was on the screen earlier tonight.
Right.
But I believe that's probably
But these are
accurate.
residential properties that are
Correct.
intended for resale in the marketplace. Okay, great, thank you.
Councilmember Raybauer, did you have something?
Yeah, Your Honor.
Councilmember-
Well, I'm just pleased that as we talk about Coon Rapids being a fully developed city, that we continue to find areas where there are places to continue to develop and include a variety of housing within our city for our residents and to attract new residents. And with that, I will make, for planning case 21-44, I move to approve the preliminary plat with the following conditions. All engineering comments are addressed. All comments from Anoka County Highway Department are addressed.
Second.
Motion by Raybauer, second by Geisler. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 18 on our agenda is to consider construction contract for Mississippi Boulevard Storm Sewer Repair Project 21-36. And I thought somewhere in here I read the word emergency or urgent or something that said this, we didn't plan on doing this.
Yes, that is
Mr.
correct,
Hammer?
Mr. Mayor, Council. We were notified of a sinkhole in someone's garden on their property. And upon investigating, we found that some 50 to 60-year-old corrugated metal pipe had separated below grade, and material was sinking and sloughing off into that. It's access from the river is difficult because there's sheet piling that exists, so we're trying to thread the needle of do we do it from the top, do we do it from the bottom? There's a lot of private improvements in there as well. And so it was difficult trying to come up with the design. We came up with some options, we met with some contractors, we had some consultant help, and we kind of put together some design bid specs. And we had 3 contractors quoting us. One realized they wouldn't be able to meet it in our timeline. It's okay to go a little into winter, things get a little frozen, you don't do as much damage to the surrounding property, but we can't wait till spring to have this resolved. So we would hope to get this accomplished here right away as soon as this, if we move forward with the project. We do have funding available in our stormwater utility without having to do a budget amendment. We had a drought season this year, so there wasn't a whole lot of miscellaneous drainage concerns to resolve. So we were able to find money left in our M&R program. So we're just looking to utilize that on this emergency repair and try to get that done over the next 4 weeks with Minger Construction Company in the amount of $193,900 or $173,960. And I'm happy to answer any questions anyone has.
Apparently, we're doing it a little differently than we used to do on the railroad. They used to send us in to clear it out and then put a band on the inside. That didn't cost $170,000. But I was up here getting claustrophobic just thinking about those days. Councilmember Carlson?
Make a motion that we approve the construction contract with Minger Construction Company, Inc. for the Mississippi Boulevard storm sewer repair and authorize staff to execute the agreement.
Second.
Motion by Carlson, second by Geisler. Is there any discussion?
I have a question, Mr. Mayor.
Councilmember Griscoviac?
Mr. Hammer, so is there an existing easement, a drainage easement in here that the equipment goes in on? Or how do we get back there?
Yes, Councilmember Griscoviac, the existing pipe coming out of off the roadway it's close to a property line. There are existing platted drainage and utility easements. So the top side access isn't so tough, but you've got to thread the needle on the bottom side where the sheet piling is. And so we're going to have to come in through the access, through the drainage and utility easement, perform some excavation, and then we're going to pipe ramming, push the pipe out, try to hit that target, and again, minimize impacts to the surrounding improvements. It's a challenge, that's for sure. The other options considered were just put a smaller pipe inside the existing pipe, then we start to lose capacity, we don't have access. We considered coming in on the river and trying to line, going the opposite direction. Again, we're still left in a scenario where we wouldn't have good access for the future to do any repairs or maintenance. So we do have access enough off the roadway to get in there. It's just how do we make it match at the river is going to be a challenge.
It's going to be a challenge. All right, thank you.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. Item 19 is to consider authorization to purchase equipment for public works. We're looking to purchase one John Deere 544 wheel loader with a plow and all necessary attachments to replace Unit 212. And I assume this is kind of that same deal. We're going to recognize some savings doing it this year instead of waiting for 2022. Mr.
Yes,
Hammer?
that's correct, Mr. Mayor. They're going to cut off at the end of November 2021 sales, which means we have to wait for the contract to come out for 2022. This year, that didn't occur until August. And so in addition to whatever that pricing would be at that point, we also get in line to get the equipment a little bit sooner. So we've got $239,000 in our budget for 2022. This final quote came in around $209,000, so there's about a $30,000 savings. We will not take delivery or we will not incur any cost until 2022 as well. So there's no budget amendment. However, if there's any consideration for changing the budget before the end of the year, it would be a scenario if you approve this, that this would be something that you wouldn't be able to cut. So we're just trying to get ahead and save about $30,000.
Excellent.
Your Honor,
Councilmember Raderauer?
I appreciate the smart decision on saving the money. I do have a question. Is there ever an opportunity for council members to try these vehicles out
Councilmember Ray Wauer, I will say there are opportunities to ride in them, to actually.
We're not gonna let you drive them.
If you got a CDL or a Class A license, I'm sure there's something we can work around, but all council members are always welcome for, if you want to go on a ride-along during a plow event, you want to come down, tour the site. We have our open house typically every May as well, but yes, opportunities exist for that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Mayor, if I can comment on that.
Which?
No, it's a positive comment. When I joined the council, we needed to replace some pieces of equipment, and I asked Mr. Himmer, I said, can I come down there and look at that equipment and, show me what's wrong with it and all this, and they did. I got into Public Works, and you and your folks toured me around and showed me exactly what was falling apart, and I felt a lot better about my vote after that.
You're on there.
All right, Councilmember Ray Wauer.
Okay. I make a motion to authorize the purchase of a replacement John Deere 544 wheel loader with attachments.
Second.
Motion by Ray Wauer, second by Griscoviac. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, and that motion carries. Item 20 is to consider an introduction of ordinances revising fees for 2022. And it should be noted that there were no fee increases in 2021. And most of these fees are going to be of the $5 and such variety, other than when you get up to the, like the on-sale intoxicating liquor license, then we go up a couple $100, but you're talking over $10,000, so. Anything you want to comment on this, anyone?
Mr. Mayor?
Back to the finance director again.
I'll just reiterate that these are ordinances to revise certain fees for 2022. For the ordinance adjusting certain license and service fees and related charges, staff reviewed the 2021 fees and applied a 2.75 adjustment factor, a basic cost of living adjustment, when appropriate. Not all the fees were adjusted. A rate change was only made if an adjustment was enough for the fee to be rounded to the next significant dollar amount. Some fees are set by Minnesota statute, and these have no changes for 2022. For the other ordinance establishing permit and inspection fees for building inspections, the building inspection staff reviewed the 2021 fees and are recommending no changes for 2022. Also, state law requires a public hearing for an increase in certain fees for the sale of alcoholic beverages. Council is asked to set a public hearing for these fee increases on November 16th at 7 p.m.
So the first two items are introductions, and then the third one will need a motion for setting a public hearing. Does anybody have any questions on this before we consider it introduced?
Nope.
All right, then with no further questions, we will consider the ordinance to revise certain license fees, service fees, and related charges effective January 1st, 2022, and the ordinance establishing permit and inspection fees for the Building Inspections Division effective January 1st, 2022. We will consider both of those introduced, and we'll look for a motion to set a public hearing then.
So move for November 16, 2021 at 7 p.m. during our council meeting.
Second.
Motion by Johnson, second by Carlson, to set a public hearing for November 16th, 2021 at 7 p.m. regarding the fee increases for on-sale 3.2 malt liquor, off-sale 3.2 malt liquor, tavern license, on-sale intoxicating liquor license, microdistillery cocktail room liquor license, and brewer taproom license. Is there any discussion?
I think I just figured out how to get the mayor to read the motion.
You've always known that was how to get me to read the motion. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
No, thank you.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that motion carries, setting the public hearing. And item 21, I'm sure this is why Mr. Brovold has sat here so patiently all night, is to consider Resolution 21-112, amending the 2021 Golf Fund budget. And we'd like to introduce our moderate enterprise risk now. I noticed Mr. Anderson is not here tonight.
Great time for him to be on vacation. You've seen the resolution. Are there any questions on it? Basically, I'm here to answer any questions you have on it.
Oh, okay. So do you want me to read the discussion point and then?
Yeah, if you don't mind.
All right. So what we're looking to do is, staff is recommending the purchase of 4 laser projectors, 4 golf simulator computers with monitors, and expenses related to relocating computer hardware. The estimated expenses are almost $18,000 for the projectors, a little over $11,000 for the computers, $2,650 for the monitors, and a little over $8,000 for the hardware relocation. So we're looking for $39,775.57. So effectively, Ms. Brovold, does this set us up with 4 new simulators then? Is that kind of what this is doing? Or what?
Essentially, it would. We only have 2 operational at the moment. It ended up working out that way last year, where with the COVID restrictions, we can only have 2, and we ended up only having 2 operational, so that basically got us through. But now we would like to open up with a full season, and if we're gonna buy 2, we might and we're at the end of the life cycle of the previous 2 models, and we need 4 new computers, we need 4 new projectors. It's time. So that's kind of why we're here. So any other questions, I guess?
It seems like it would make sense to have 4 of the same there.
Yeah.
So that if you just happen to be the last foursome there, you get, oh, we got the old one again, you know?
Right. And the biggest thing is our competition has been, as you can tell, has been coming up, and this would put us at least on par, if not ahead. And with the awesome food at Kendall's, getting catered right to your table, I think that puts us even above everybody else.
Excellent. I think Councilmember Geisler, or Mr. Stemwood.
Mayor, Council, I can explain some of the timing with this project as well. As we started to develop budgets for 2022, Mr. Anderson had included in his capital projects the costs of doing these. As we're looking at his 22 projections, one of the things we discussed at that time was preferably we would start this sometime in 2021. And so what Mr. Anderson and I discussed was essentially, let's see how the year goes, both in terms of revenue and where things might be going into the fall months, winter months with any type of restrictions. Keep in mind, we were talking about these things back in April and May earlier this year. As the year progressed, a couple of things happened. The Gulf Fund is having a record year in terms of revenues. Obviously, in the case of the simulator room, this would have a payback period over time, and this is revenue generating, which is a positive for the operation. As Mr. Brovold mentioned, is replacing some antiquated equipment. Additionally, within that fund, there were significant savings in capital projects that either came in less or did not happen this year. Mm-hmm. And so we're more or less reorienting these funds toward this particular project.
Very good.
Mayor.
Councilmember Carlson?
Mr. Brovo, when would these arrive if we were able to get it through?
From what I'm told, the computers can be ready immediately, and the projectors should be soon. If not, we have a partner that could help us get through till the actual ones that we want arrive. The migration can happen immediately as well, once approved. So it should be pretty much right away. Mm-hmm.
I wasn't on the council, but I used to follow the council meetings, and it seems like when we bought the first simulator back at the Seasons, it was like $50,000 just for one simulator back then. That was pretty cutting edge and a big deal. But
Mr. Mayor?
Councilmember Griscoviac?
I was actually going to make a comment on that I've been out to Kendall's and I've seen people lined up to use these simulators. Mm-hmm. They're very popular. I would think that our ROI on this is actually pretty quick. But I did have a question for you. How is the competition from like that big Top Golf operation cutting into the use of these machines?
I think it's I can't lie that it might not cut into it a little bit, but I think it's a different experience. I think the people that want to go to Topgolf want to play like a video game with a golf club, whereas they come to us for a simulation of golf. Plus, I mean, they have food, we have food, but I think it's a different experience.
But again, my point is, they get a lot of heavy use, and it's probably got to be one of the better revenue-generating operations than that enterprise fund, so.
I think Topgolf is one of those where it gets a lot of beginner golf, people that don't normally play golf, and that gets them into the game, and then they want to take that next step, where they're playing golf at Bunker Hills, outside or inside. I think that's that bridge, so I think Topgolf is good.
And Mayor and Council, I can dovetail on that a little bit. Mr. Anderson, I have had those conversations about competition in the marketplace because 10 years ago there was very little, if any, in this area. And there's been a number of facilities in the northern metro beyond Topgolf that have opened. And we did see kind of a wane in use for a couple of years, and that seems to be swinging back. We think part of that is due to the facility itself. People maybe tested some other areas, liked Bunker Hills better. Obviously, we think we have the best food and beverage operation going as it relates to something like this. And that's a mutual benefit that we're bringing people to the facility during the winter months when there really is no golf activity outside of this, that who are utilizing the bar, utilizing the menu at Kendall's, and vice versa, that people want to come to Bunker because they know they can get quality food and drinks and so forth. So it's really the best thing we have at Bunker to keep people coming there for a golf purpose, and we think there are benefits on both sides of that.
Great. Excellent.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilmember Carlson?
the motion that we authorize Resolution 21-112, amending the 2021 Golf Fund budget for the purchase of golf simulator operational items.
Second.
Motion by Carlson, second by Johnson. Is there further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? And that motion carries. Thank you, Mr. Brvd. Is there anybody here to address council in open mic tonight? Is anybody here for open mic? So, Councilmember Hernandez Jr., I realized I owe you an apology. There were so many people here, I didn't realize, is that your family out there with us this evening?
Yeah, that's some of them, yes.
Nice, nice. Anybody you want to introduce? Because I'm pretty sure Mr. Erickson can figure out how to turn the camera back there. Can you, Steve? After you made that long walk down your hallway? Look at there. All right.
My mother-in-law, Terry, my father-in-law, Rick, my niece, Marcelina, my great-niece, Lucia, my two great-nephews, Antonio and Julian, and my father in the back, Pablo Hernandez.
All right. Very good.
He's a resident of the Coon Rapids. He's over at Epiphany Assisted Facility.
Oh, what a great spot.
Yes,
Great spot.
yes.
Well, we're happy you're all here. Thank you, and we are on to, I don't have any reports on other open mics, and we are on to other business. Before we get rolling too far into other business, I wanted to just read something here. So we had a former city manager named Bob Thistle that passed away October 19th. And I just, in order to just get it out, I just wrote got a few things here. Former Coon Rapids city manager Bob Thistle passed away on October 19th. Although Bob left his role as Coon Rapids city manager, he made Coon Rapids his home. Bob always remained active, including service with the League of Minnesota Cities. He chaired the Coon Rapids Civil Service Commission, served on the Anoka County Internal Audit Committee, was a charter board member with North Suburban Counseling Center, served as a senior advisor with the International City Managers Association, and was president of the Anoka County Library Board. In addition, he served as interim city manager to several Minnesota communities in transition, including Greenfield, Elk River, and Albertville. Bob was also a proud member of the Coon Rapids Rotary Club, which is where many of us grew close to Bob, and he was a member of Westminster Presbyterian Church in Minneapolis. It's important to note Bob's balance. His dedication to the community was only outdone by his dedication to his family. Quoting from his obituary, Bob had a zest for life, focusing on family first, especially doting on his grandkids. He was babysitter on call, and the kids loved every minute of being with their Papa Bob, knowing he enjoyed them too. He attended countless school, sporting, and music events, as well as dance recitals. He taught the kids to enjoy many of his hobbies, including baseball, gardening, and strategy games. We offer a sincere thank you for all of Bob's service and offer our condolences to his wife Julie, his children, and their families, and Bob will be missed. Yeah. He was, when I first came to the council, Bob was one of the first people I met, and he said, I used to be the city manager there. If there's anything I can do for you, make sure you let me know, and he was just always a good resource. Great man.
Thank you for saying that. He did the same with me, and he was a wonderful member of the community.
Yep, absolutely. Okay, other business. Second thing, not nearly as important, but on a different scale. I'm sporting a new lapel pin tonight, and it's the pin you can get if you donate for No Shave November and bring your receipt to the police station. They'll give you this fancy lapel pin. Chief Wise, you got some folks participating over there?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. All right, and I'm still wearing my pink badge. As you recall, October was Breast Cancer Awareness, and our officers strongly supported that cause. Likewise, in November, of course, we have grooming standards. Those grooming standards include shaving on a regular basis. They came to me with the idea they wanted to support this No Shave November to raise money. And in this case, the No Shave November actually supports a number of cancer groups. So it's a place sort of you can make a one-stop donation, and you could, actually I would recommend anytime, always vet where you're donating your money to find out what expenses are and those sorts of things. But these are great organizations that are all working towards ending cancer. And our officers asked if they could just go without shaving for a month for the purpose of raising money. They had to pay to be a part of it, and they're all going to recruit people to continue to donate if they're able to. And yes, like you said, No Shave November is an official website, noshave.org, if you want to look it up. You can see everything about how they fundraise and what they fundraise for, and then you can make a donation to our team, the Coon Rapids PD team. You'll see a little tab on there that says, I'd like to donate to a team. Click on that, make your donation, and yes, come to the front window of the PD, and they're super cool little buttons, little bearded guy with a police hat on. It's kind of neat. I like it. So, and obviously you do too, Mr. Mayor, so thank you for bringing it up.
Yeah, thank you, Chief.
Your Honor.
Councilmember Rayrower?
I just want to say thank you to everybody who went out and voted last night. It is a wonderful part to be able to take place in our great democracy, so thank you for voting.
All right.
That's why we have our meeting on Wednesday, to make sure that everybody could go vote.
Your Honor.
Councilmember Johnson?
I wanted to express my appreciation to the council at large for the workshop we had where we interviewed all the applicants for city council. When I reflect on the way local government runs in some areas of our state, and then I consider how things work here in Coon Rapids, I am grateful that we have a council that can have a real robust and cordial discussion about important issues to the city, and also about the future of the city. And everybody comes at it with a positive view toward what can we do to make Coon Rapids the best place to be and the best place to be in the future. I do want to congratulate also Pablo Hernandez Jr. for joining us on the council and being the person that the council chose. And I do want to express too that the vote here is unanimous because of the consensus we're able to achieve, but that shouldn't be a reflection on any of the other candidates, because I want to read their names into the record here today. We interviewed Sean Novak, Mary Campbell, Diego Morales, and Ethan Yang, and all of those other candidates were really wonderful candidates. There were other applicants, too, that put in, which were extremely good candidates to put in. And I would like to say to them personally how much I appreciate them coming forward, asking to participate in the city, seeking the opportunity to be involved in city affairs, and I hope they stay involved, and I'll be reaching out to them to talk about that in the future. But I'm grateful that Pablo Hernandez Jr. has joined us on the council. I would also be remiss if I didn't say to the public at large, this is something that happens from time to time. We get a vacancy. And the meetings that we have that the council has a conversation about who is going to be on the council in the future are public meetings. And so you're welcome to attend those meetings in the future, and maybe then you might get an opportunity to see how what I personally believe, and maybe I'm a little biased, but a good council works to arrive at a decision. So thank you to my fellow council members. Thank you, Mr. Hernandez Jr., for joining us on the council, and thank you to all those other candidates as well.
All right. Councilmember Hernandez Jr., is there anything you would like to do as a way of introduction?
Yes, so Your Honor, I want to first thank the council, yourself, for giving me this opportunity. I like to set short-term goals, and this was actually one of my short-term goals, and I achieved it. I'm going to take the ball, I'm going to run with it, and not only with myself, but with all of you. And I can already see the dynamic that this council clicks. And we all, I think I mentioned this, that we all came from different paths, but yet we all have the same goal. And I can gladly say that, 50% of my life I've lived it in Coon Rapids. And I'm very proud of that. And I'm going to keep working to make this city as great as a city as it can be. And I appreciate everything, when it comes to being proactive with equipment, trying to find those spaces to create more space for residents, for growth. I love those ideas and, those discussions, and I'm very grateful to be a part of those now and to put my 2 cents in and to support every department in the city and support the city council, support you, Mayor. And yeah, that's, I'm very excited, very excited. So it was a very exciting first meeting, and I wanted to take it all in, and I love the dynamic here. I really do. And each one, it wasn't boring or nothing. It was just, I'm taking it all in, so.
Well, that's great. Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
And welcome.
Thank you.
It's you have a key role to fill there. Wade was a very integral part of our council, and so you've got a big chair to fill there.
Oh, yeah. I plan on introducing myself to many of the Ward 3 residents and putting that time in as well, and it's not going to stop, and we're just going to keep going and progressing, so.
Awesome. All right. Mr. Stemwettle, other business?
Mayor, Council, we've kind of touched on it already, but I would encourage folks to go to the website and check on the Coon Rapids Commission application process. We'll be kind of seeking to fill those roles through the end of the year. Council makes those appointments in January. We'll give council an update at the work session in December on kind of what the commissions are, who's seeking to return, what vacancies there might be, that sort of thing. So the sooner the better in terms of filling out an application and getting that into City Hall. And then the last thing I'll mention, just because it's kind of fun and it's timely, in that if you're wondering what to do with your gourds and pumpkins or any of those things, bring them to the Coon Rapids Recycle Center. They have an organics bin outside of the regular gate. You just drop into the recycle center, you'll kind of see the bin. There should be some signage there. Throw your pumpkins in, takes all of 5 seconds, and it'll save you capacity in your trash can or, other methods that you might have. It's pretty slick.
Excellent. Excellent. All right. The senior bazaar was last week. That was well attended. That was a really fun thing. Our concerts don't start until January, so I'm not sure if we have anything else right now.
It's pretty quiet, yeah.
Quiet's good.
As far as that goes.
All right. Any other business come before council?
Move to adjourn.
Motion by Johnson, second by Carlson to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned.